Krishna. So today is 6th of February 2022. We are honored to welcome each one of you. We have His Grace Dravida Prabhu, who's going to speak to us live from San Diego Temple in San Diego, California today. Prabhu joined in 1973, and he's been serving as an editor and proofreader for PBT for over 45 years. And as we know, he's a disciple of ISKCON founder Acharya A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And he is also part of the team that produces Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja book every year. So you'll hear more about that shortly. And also he's based, as I said, he's based out of San Diego. He's been a brahmachari throughout his devotional career. And he's been waking up at 3:30 to 4 every day for just over 45 years. And he's been a friend of ISKCON Scarborough for several years. And we are honored to welcome His Grace Dravida Prabhu to talk to us on this wonderful topic of meditation in Krishna consciousness. Thank you so much. I
was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So the topic today is meditation in Krishna consciousness. And we have a quote here from Srila Prabhupada. He says, meditation means to achieve a state in which the mind is saturated with God consciousness and always thinking of God. So we'll proceed here. So in our Sampradaya, in Krishna consciousness, Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, sorry about that. The meditation equals smaranam. Smaranam means remembrance. And I'm sure you're familiar with the 9 processes. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanas, and the third one is Smaranam, which proceeds from Shravanam, Kirtanam, from hearing and chanting about Krishna. And so this first verse that I mentioned, Smarta Vyaksatatam Vishnu, Vismartam Nayajata Chit. Now I don't think I put it in this PowerPoint, but I have it here in the Bhagavad Gita. This is actually it's quoted. I'm sorry, it's not Bhagavad Gita. It's quoted from the Vishnu Padma Puran in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 22:113. Smarta Vyaksadatam Vishnu Vismarta Vyam Jatu Chit Sava Vidi Nished Aksur Etayor Eva Kinkara. Krishna is the origin of Vishnu. He should always be remembered and never forgotten at any time. All the rules and prohibitions mentioned in the Shastras should be the servants of these 2 principles. When Prabhupada says rules and prohibitions, he means the do's and the don'ts. There's so many prescriptions, things that we should do, and proscriptions, things that we should not do in Krishna consciousness. And all of them are centered on this one goal, to help us increase the depth of our remembrance of Krishna and the length of the meditation. In other words, more and more during our day, during our waking hours, we should be able to connect everything to Krishna. So Vidi in the Shedaks, Etiyor Kinkara. So it's nice to think of it that way. And then we can think of our japa, the worship of the deities, the study of the Shastra, the festivals. Everything is there meant to help us remember Krishna more and more. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, there's many places, but I picked out a few samples. What is it? He says, Ananya Chetak Satatam. This is Bhagavad Gita 8:14. Ananya Chetak Satatam Yomam Smadati Nityashaha. Tasyaham Sulabhakpata Nitya Yuktasya Yoganaha. For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Prita, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. So, yes, once you get to the point of always remembering Krishna, he's easy to obtain. But how to get to that point? That's the sadhana, that's the struggle we have, because we come to Krishna consciousness. Some of us, many more of you than the people that I grew up with, had some background perhaps in Krishna consciousness from childhood, at least Vedic culture, familiarity with the Bhagavad Gita. But in the modern world, you can get wrapped up in so many different things that simply distract your mind from Krishna. So the struggle is to create a space in your life for concentrated remembrance of Krishna, and by understanding the philosophy of how Krishna is present everywhere by his energies, we can gradually begin to see everything in relation to Krishna. This is the ideal. And then always remembering Krishna, then we're sure to go back to Godhead. Ananyas Chintayantoma, this is another one. This is from the 9th chapter. Let's see, sorry about that. Yes, 9:22. Ananyas Chintayantoma ye janapaya pasate tesham nityabhyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So this is one of the elements of surrender. The Sharanagati is Rakshishati Vishwaso Gopit Vedanandata. This faith or the confidence that Krishna will provide. Now, it doesn't mean that we're going to immediately just quit our jobs and join the ashram, but it means that we're confident that Krishna will provide for us if we serve him and we worship him with exclusive devotion. Then he'll take care of us, just like a father will take care of his beloved children. Krishna will take care of his beloved devotees. And so this is, but Ananyas Chintayantamam, one has to come to the point of always thinking of him, always worshiping him with exclusive devotion, meditating on him. And then the third one here, Maya Vishimano Yeman, this is from the 12th chapter, some of you may recognize, of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Arjuna wants to know who is really the best worshiper, the best yogi, those who are meditating on the Brahman or those who are meditating in your transcendental form. Of course, this chapter is entitled Devotional Service, so Krishna makes it very clear. Maya Vishimano Yemam Nitya Yukta Pasade Shuddhaya Pariyopitas Teme Yukta Tamamata. Those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshiping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be most perfect. So again, we have Krishna's injunction here to meditate on him and to absorb our mind. So moving on to the next slide, the hearing and chanting. The foundation of our Krishna consciousness is this hearing and chanting. That's the first two of the 9 processes. And indeed, these two can many devotees, great devotees who are so renounced, the Babajis, this is practically all they do, the hearing and chanting, stay absorbed in hearing, chanting, and remembering. So the foundation of our Krishna consciousness, as we quoted, Smartatam Samdatam Vishnu, that all of the different do's and don'ts, the proscriptions and prescriptions, are meant to further the depth and our duration of our remembrance of Krishna. And this hearing and chanting leads to remembrance of Krishna. I think I did once this for Scarborough. I can do it again sometime. And that is the Krishna Katashtaka, these 8 verses in the 12th canto, in the 12th chapter, the 12th canto, I believe. That's all about hearing and chanting and how they lead to the last 2 verses, the final verses quoted often. I read it in the biography of Bhaktisiddhanta. It's quoted by him in his lectures. Avismati Krishna Padada Vindayo Chinotya Badhani Chasham Tanoti Satvasya Shuddhim Padamatma Bhaktim Satvasya Padamatma Bhaktim Dhyanam to Vijnana Viraga Yuktam. So this constant remembrance of Krishna has so many benefits, the progressive benefits. The first one is everything inauspicious is destroyed. We get this from the 2nd chapter, 1st canto. Shrinvadam Sakata Krishna Punyashavanagir Vidyantaksa Abhadrani Vidunoti Suritsatam. Krishna, from within, he's cleansing away all of the abundance, the unwanted desires, the lust, anger, greed, illusion, all these things are destroyed. So that's that's the first benefit. And Shantanoti means that your good fortune is expanded. Sham is the word in Shankara, which is the name for Shiva, he who brings good fortune. Satvasya Shuddhim Padamatma Bhaktim. What does it say? Avismati Krishna Badadavindayo Chinotibadnani Chashantanodi Sattvasya Shuddhim, the purification of one's existence. This we find emphasized by Lord Rishabdev in his famous verse, Nayam Deo Dehabhajan Viloke, that austerity in Krishna consciousness, divine austerity, purifies one's existence so that one becomes able to taste the highest happiness. And so Paramatma Bhakti and devotional service to the Supreme Soul, Krishna, who's mentioned at the beginning of the verse, characterized by knowledge and realized knowledge, jnana, vijnana, and vairagya, this detachment from everything. So that's all result of constant remembrance of Krishna. This avismriti means never forgetting. We had a wrong translation there in the original, but it's been fixed. So constant remembrance, this is what we're after. Deepens into full absorption or meditation. So what is our main means of meditation? Oh, this is the verse I wanted to cite. Unfortunately, it seems to be obscured partially. But this is verse, if at the bottom you see Bhagavatam 5:12-16. This is part of the instructions of Jadabharat to King Rahugana, very illuminating. And I remember this verse I learned when I was there in Toronto. There's a nice little pastime. This is the first and only time I've ever memorized a verse just from seeing it on a board during a class. Many of you maybe remember how Gopal Krishna Maharaj used to sometimes come there for the Rath Yatra. And he was there this year and he was giving a class, Bhagavatam class, on this verse. And it was such a nice verse and such a beautiful little purport. Maybe I'll read it here. It's very short. And it summarized so much of our practice of Krishna consciousness. So here, tasman naro sanga susanga jata gyanasine naiva vivritna moha haring tadiha katana shuddhabhyam labdas smatir yat jatipadam advanaha. Simply by giving up the association of worldly people and associating with exalted devotees, anyone can attain perfection of knowledge with the sword, and with the sword of knowledge can cut to pieces the illusory associations within this material world. Through the association of devotees, one can engage in the service of the Lord by hearing and chanting, Shravanam Kirtanam. Thus, one can revive his dormant Krishna consciousness and, sticking to the cultivation of Krishna consciousness, return home back to Godhead, even in this life. So this is Srila Prabhupada's translation to that. And one thing that he doesn't mention or emphasize here is that Haring Tariha Katana Shuddhabhyam. This will be emphasizing later on in the slideshow. That first of all, this principle of giving up bad association, asanga means not associating with materialists, and susanga, associating with pure devotees, gives rise, or jata, to knowledge, which is like a sword, jnanasina, with which we cut to pieces all of the illusion. And Srila Prabhupada dedicated so much of his life to giving us the genuine books of knowledge, the Shastra, as delivered by the pure devotee, that can help us to cut all the illusions that we've been in since time immemorial. And along with this, and as part of the susanga, associating with devotees, you're going to hear about Krishna's iha. Iha means activities or lila of Krishna, Hare, katanashvatavyam, chanting and hearing, which produces labda smatir. Now, labda smatir, Prabhupada translates as reviving or dormant Krishna consciousness. In other words, we already know all this. We've forgotten it, but we need to revive our remembrance of our real form and Krishna's lila and the pastimes and the spiritual world and everything. So that's what we're going to, how we can do that. And then we nicely progress on the path, Advana, to the supreme goal, Supreme Personality Param. And Prabhupada has a nice little purport where he describes this is the purpose of the Hare Krishna movement. He said we provide room and board, we provide the temples and the ashrams, and of course he also provides the instruction and facility for those who live outside and make their home into an ashram. But the whole point is to attain the knowledge by which we can cut to pieces our long cultivated illusions that are keeping us bound in this world since time immemorial. And at the same time, deepen our hearing and chanting and remembrance of Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. So that's that ultimately results in labda smatir. Now, the other meaning given, I think Krishna Chakravarti says, it produces smriti, means never forgetting Krishna, constant remembrance. one attains constant remembrance of Krishna. And Prabhupada gave it yes, and at the same time reviving our dormant remembrance of Krishna. All of this is a result of good association and taking advantage of it and following the program that Srila Prabhupada has outlined. So now what's our main means of remembrance Krishna is our japa. Japa is there essential as part of the sadhana, and of course the corresponding kirtan is there. Both are essential. So this is from years ago. Some of you may remember, some of you may have even attended one or more of these japa retreats we used to have in the early aughts of the 2000s. And I was privileged to be attended 4 or 5 of them. And I think this is these 5 P's. I don't think I figured these out myself. These 5 P's for better japa: preparation, posture, pronunciation, prayer, and purity. So we're going to go through those, since this is all part of the increasing and improving our meditation on Krishna. So the preparation, this is a big one. Early to bed, early to rise makes the devotee blissful and wise. Now, those who may be familiar with the sayings of Benjamin Franklin, he had something like early to bed, early to rise makes a man wealthy, healthy, and wise. Yeah, right. But the spiritual side is it helps to get obviously to get up early. Those early morning hours, Brahma Muhurta, are so favorable for devotional practice of every kind. So early to bed is not an easy thing, because so much Maya happens in at night. The TV goes on and so many different things. But if you have to get up early, that I have to have that extra hour that I need. I used to get up at 7 and go to work. Now I need to get up at 6, so I have time for my sadhana. And if you're in the temple, you get up a lot earlier than that. So that's the first thing, is making time in the morning. And when you're awake means you have to get, you have to be in good consciousness. So early to bed. And then you create a sacred space in your domicile. This is, of course, for devotees who live outside, which is the vast mass of devotees. Clean, quiet, free of distractions, an altar. Many of you have an altar room. You have the deities, which is wonderful. That's the best place to chant. If there's no deities, then a quiet, clean room where there's maybe nice pictures of Krishna. I don't have any deities, but I have a lot of pictures on my little altar where I offer things and meditate. And then be Krishna conscious before taking rest. So this is an important thing, because we're going to dream of things. And if we read Krishna book beforehand, or we have a nice kirtan, somehow absorb ourselves before taking rest, we may have the good fortune of dreaming of Krishna, or at least remembering Krishna spontaneously when we wake up, because that's what we were absorbed in when we took rest. And then there's the posture. So the first one is preparation, and the posture. Sit properly. Those who have heard Prabhupada's tape, there's a tape of him chanting with the devotees, and someone is slouching, and he says in the middle of it, sit properly. So that properly, of course, Krishna, he describes in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 6, one should hold one's back, neck, head in a straight line, head in a straight line. So this facilitates wakefulness, and it makes it less likely that we'll be falling asleep during the japa. Now, this zafu, I just Googled yesterday to make sure that it's still there. Zafu is a pillow that's often used in Zen meditation, but it makes sitting cross-legged comfortable for long periods. I have one that's inflatable, which I carry whenever I travel. Some of you may remember seeing that, and it's just a part of the anatomy. If your knees are lower than your waist when you sit, then it's much easier to keep the back straight and sit for longer periods of time. So these are just techniques that facilitate concentrating. The mind can be peaceful and concentrate. Otherwise, it becomes more difficult. So posture is important when chanting. Of course, many of you and I also sometimes walk. I don't sit, for 2 hours and chant. I get up and walk, and that's also fine. Prabhupada had so many japa walks. But in a lot of time, when you're sitting, it's important to sit properly. Pronunciation. So this is a quote from Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi 1732 purport. One should note in this connection, he's describing the chanting that chanting involves the activities of the upper and lower lips as well as the tongue. All three must be engaged in chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. The words Hare Krishna should be very distinctly pronounced and heard. Sometimes one mechanically produces a hissing sound instead of chanting with the proper pronunciation with the help of the lips and tongue. Chanting is very simple, but one must practice it seriously. So this proper pronunciation, it's an effort to do that. One has to be paying attention. And so one can easily hear if someone is slurring the mantra, skipping words, it means that then you're not paying attention, you're letting your mind wander. And he said it's very simple. It could be, what could be more simple, chanting these words and hearing them. But the mind is so obstinate and so difficult to control, as Arjun says so memorably, like trying to control the wind, that this is a large part of our sadhana, bringing the mind back to the holy name and just hearing the sound and letting the purification take place. Now, one thing is that, and Prabhupada, of course, recommended this, and that is glorification of the holy name. We're all familiar with the Shikshashtaka, this is the primary glorification that we have of the holy name. But there are so many beautiful verses in the Bhagavatam or from the Puranas, that we can memorize or just read, because the holy name is a person, right? Krishna and his name are not different. There's a verse about that. Namachintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purnak Shadho Nityabhagavad Abhinadvan Namanamino. That last line says Abhinadvan Namanamino. There's no separation. There's no difference between the name and the named. This is completely inconceivable. But we should take it on the words of all the acharyas and Srila Prabhupada, especially. We heard him say in writing that the holy name is not different from Krishna. So when we're chanting Hare Krishna mantra, we're associating with Krishna. Krishna is allowing us to associate with him. And the more that we appreciate that, the more we'll be eager to hear very carefully the sound of the name. And we should know that how sweet the name is for those who are pure. The holy name becomes sweeter and sweeter. Marura Marura Medan Mangalam Mangalanam Sakala Nigamavalli Satpalam Shit Swarupan Sakala Vibat Gitam Shradaya Heliava Bhagavadanamatram Tadiyat Krishna Nama. Of sweet things, that's the sweetest you will taste at any time. Of things that bring good fortune is the perfect paradigm. When chanted, when uttered even once with faith or uttered once with none, from birth and death it truly will deliver anyone. And in the end, it brings pure love for Krishna, life's true aim. So cast away all doubt and chant Shri Krishna's holy name. So that's sweet. There's the whole the Ashtaka. This Keval Ashtaka begins with that also. So sometimes we think, well, yes, it's I like chanting Hare Krishna, but I don't taste the holy name of Krishna as the sweetest, the sweet. Sometimes it's a struggle to chant. That's because we're impure. But the natural experience of the soul in chanting the holy name and hearing Krishna's name and form qualities, etc., is to be completely attracted and in great bliss. And Rupa Goswami expresses the same Tandavanita team. I don't know how much nectar the two syllables Krishna had produced. So we should aspire and pray to come to that platform where we can really taste how truly sweet the name of Krishna is, and with it, and the sweetness of his form, qualities, and pastimes. This is what meditation is all about. By placing the mind on the holy name and keeping it there and hearing carefully, purification takes place most powerfully. And then we get more and more ruchi or taste for everything related to Krishna, beginning with the holy name. So this meditation is truly fruitful when we never want to stop. We want to have millions of tongues in order to mouths to chant the holy name. Okay, so Prabhupada goes. So prayer. So prayer is the next one. I think it's the last one, and is the maybe not But anyway, it's Prabhupada said this is what's the meaning of the name? How should we feel as we chant? It's a prayer. These three words, this is the famous record album address, the first album that was recorded. These three words, namely Hare Krishna and Rama, are the transcendental seeds of the Maha Mantra. The chanting is a spiritual call for the Lord and his energy to give protection to the conditioned soul. This chanting is exactly like the genuine cry of a child for its mother's presence. Mother Hare helps the devotee achieve the Lord Father's grace, and the Lord reveals himself to the devotee who chants this mantra sincerely. So we can feel like that, that we're calling out to Krishna in a helpless situation. Where I always like to point out how this is the advantage of being in the Kali Yuga. The Kali Yuga is full of faults, right? And it's getting worse by the day. And right at the beginning of Bhagavatam, first chapter, we have that famous verse, Praya and Apesha Sabhyam. For the most part, people don't live very long. They're lazy in the matter of spiritual endeavor. And if they are interested, they get misguided. And therefore, they're unlucky and they're always disturbed. So how are we going to do any yoga? How can these people, the sages of Naimisharya wanted to ask Sudha, can they be benefited? How can they be saved? And so Lord Chaitanya came, Krishna came as Lord Chaitanya in order to give this easy, practical process centered on the chanting of the holy name. So because we're so unqualified and so beset by so many threefold miseries all the time, therefore we can call out if we have the real understanding of our position and what the holy name is. We can call out with tremendous helplessness and the desperation for Krishna, which is the best way to do it. There's a verse in Queen Kunti's prayers. This one didn't quite have the right translation to it, but in the purport, Prabhupada makes it very clear. Janmai Shraya Shuddha Shribi, Ena Manamadakpaman, Naiva Hat Vidatan Vai, Fama Kinshana Gochara. So what Kunti says there is that, my dear Lord, you're very easily approachable, but only by those who are not progressively intoxicated by the desire for good birth and wealth and personal beauty, physical beauty, and education, high education. Because such people cannot call upon you, cannot address you with deep feeling. Who can address Krishna with deep feeling? Akinchana Gosha, the Dina Bandhus. He's Dina Bandhu, those who are poor, wretched, helpless, and desperate for Krishna's mercy. We can call out with deep feeling, but we need to cultivate that understanding of our real position and how helpless we are without Krishna, and call out to him through the Hare Krishna mantra. So that's what Prabhupada is saying here, like a child, a helpless child, calling out so please let me resume your service. I've wandered far away. And so many of the prayers of the great acharyas are in that mood. I was recently reviewing this prayer near the beginning of the Vilap Kusumanjali. And this is, some of you may know it, Devi, this is a prayer to Srimati Radharani, Devi Dukka Kulasaga Rodare, Duyamanamati Durgatam Janam Tam Kripava Balanauka Yabitam Prapaya Sabata Pangajari. So this is the same Radharani who's the Hare in this mantra. And he's saying there, my dear Devi, or my dear goddess Radharani, this wretched soul is drowning in an ocean of suffering, and the most acute suffering is separation from you. But we can relate to that with so many different sufferings and dangers. So Kulasagara, David Dukkha Kulasagara, different kinds and varieties and numbers of miseries in the ocean of misery. David is Duryamanam Ati Durgatam Janam, very unfortunate soul. Please place me on the powerful boat of your mercy and take me to the infallible refuge of your lotus feet. So this is the kind of mood we should have when chanting Hare Krishna, calling out with deep feeling and desperation. Okay, so that's those 5 P's, and then I wanted to share with you some of what I call poetic meditations, and these are we have these exquisite paintings that have been done of Krishna's Leela. This is one of my all-time favorites. I was there when this was being done in Brooklyn in 1973 or 4. And when it came out, I would chant my japa in front of this painting. And this is illustrating, those of you familiar with the Venu Gita chapter 21 of the 10th canto. This is kind of preliminary verse. The gopis are meditating on Krishna as he enters the forest with his friends and the cows every day. And so they chant this famous verse, Barhapi Dam Natavadavapu. But I put it into English. And then, so these you can get the picture and read the English, which you're probably more familiar with than the Sanskrit. Unfortunately, it's not all there. And this is also based on a previous verse in the chapter, this setting the scene. This sets the scene. It's the autumn season is calm, and everything is very pure and pristine, and so it's describing that also. So this is how it sounds. Vrindavan's rivers, lakes, and hills ring out with charming hums and trills as flocks of birds and maddened bees rejoice among the flowering trees. Now, if you give me a second here, I'm just going to put on a little tambura sound just to enhance the mood. Let's see. So first I'm going to have... Yeah, I trust you can all hear that. Vrindavan's rivers, lakes, and hills ring out with charming hums and trills, as flocks of birds and maddened bees rejoice among the flowering trees. To those idyllic woods and glens repairs Govinda with his friends, Sri Rama and the cowherd boys, who taste the most exquisite joys. And as they walk along the way, absorbed in herding and in play, Sri Krishna, beauty absolute, begins to blow his mystic flute. With peacock plume upon his head and fragrant flower on each ear, he enters Braj's woods with tread sublime, a dancer without peer. His golden yellow raiment glows, his garland reaches to his knees, and from his lips the nectar flows and fills his flute with melodies. As Krishna thus begins his day with friends who sing his glory sweet, he beautifies the forest way with fine impressions of his feet. Samadhi culminates in this, to see this vision of pure bliss, externally and in our heart. May Madhava this boon impart. Hare Krishna. So I thought I'd share that with you because within the Bhagavatam in chapter Venu Gita and also chapter 35, this is how the gopis would spend their day. They would spend their day singing of Krishna, who's away, and they're in separation, and hoping and praying, when is he coming back? When is he coming back? And so we've been given the opportunity from the Bhagavatam to absorb ourselves in the same way. And so I thought I put some of these pastimes into poems, so since it's easier for us to understand when they're in English. So this is again the same thing. So this is another one. Let's go, said Krishna. So this is kind of chronological. After they get out of the village, they're free, and Krishna and Balaram start running along the banks of the Yamuna, and the boys are following. And so this is a poem based on that picture. Let's go, said Krishna. Oops, sorry. Let's go, said Krishna, don't delay at all. And he and Balaram began to run ahead of all their coward friends who called, "Oh Krishna, Rama, let us join the fun." And off they went to Braj's forest haunts to play in every bower, grove, and sward. The boys would tease their friend with playful taunts, forgetting his position as the Lord. Shri Krishna is inviting us as well to join him in his pastimes which enthrall. The wise heed Krishna when they hear him tell. Let's go, my friend, do not delay at all. So, by the way, that word sword may not be familiar to you. That is a word that means meadow. It has nothing to do with a weapon. So to play in every bower, grove, and meadow and sword. So this is a meditation on Krishna's exuberant beginning of his day with his coward boyfriends. And he's inviting us to join him. We simply have to become purified and regain our place in Krishna Lila by the process of full absorption and full service. And then the pastimes continue. Now they're in the forest, deep in the forest. And this is one of their favorite pastimes, having a swing. And Krishna's swinging and he's speaking to his friends. Fun in the forest. Let's see. For Krishna and his multitude of friends, a festival of joy each day would bring. A special thrill in Braja's verdant glens was riding with him high upon a swing. O Ujjvala, Sridhama, Bhadrasen, just see Vrindavan bountiful delights. The peacocks dance, the songbirds' sweet refrain, the lakes and hills and other scenic sights. All these make this the best place on the earth for us to play all day and herd the cows. Thus Krishna, in a mood of sportive mirth, enthused his friends while swinging from the bough. And before we go on, there's a couple more. Just a word about the place where music, the place that music occupies in our sadhana, in our practice. Practically speaking, it begins and ends with music, right? There's kirtan, is the main sadhana, and up in the spiritual world, and there's Krishna's flute is playing, and there's concerts, and there's dancing, and there's singing, and this is also part of our meditation, a very delightful part. And we know that Srila Prabhupada, he had so many bhajans, he approved the songbook. There's something called, what is it? I forget what it's called, but there's a word in Sanskrit for these three things of singing, dancing, and playing musical instruments. And there's one ashtaka, which I just come to my mind right now, where it's describing how when Krishna's in the forest, and the first thing that happens is that there's a whole concert that the gopis are performing. They're great musicians, and Krishna dances. And then the forest too, the peacocks start dancing, and the birds are singing, and the wind is coming through the bamboo and playing, and so there's a concert there that he appreciates it. And in this way, so much of this ashtaka is about Krishna's either singing and dancing or celebrating the singing and dancing of the human and non-human elements in that forest, entities. So that's, as we know from the Brahma Samhita, there's no talking. Every word is a song. Every step is a dance. So we can try to integrate this into our sadhana, into our celebrations of Krishna consciousness. The music and the song and the poetry definitely help us to become absorbed in Krishna consciousness in the most attractive way, delightful way. So I made my humble attempts here to try to write some poetry. We can not just read them, but sing them. So the next one is lifting Govardhan Hill. Let's see. I'm sitting here in Govardhan, by the way, that's the name of this temple. When Krishna stopped kinging with sacrifice, that monarch of the heavens threw a fit. Those cowards took that foolish boy's advice. Such insolence I never shall permit. So Indra sent the clouds of devastation, which poured down catastrophic hail and rain, with thunderbolts and winds without cessation. The cowards called to Krishna in their pain, to show his coward friends his boundless love, and crush King Indra's pride for his own good. Shri Krishna lifted Govardhan above, and saved his friends while 'neath the hill they stood. Okay, one and two more. No greater love. This is my all-time favorite painting of Krishna, little baby Krishna, eating the butter. Yashoda's friends approached her and complained about her restless son, the butter thief. Oh, friend, this child of yours must be restrained. He simply torments us with no relief. We trust that you will thoroughly chastise this naughty boy who steals and eats our food. But then he looked at them with love-filled eyes, awakening their sweet maternal mood. And so Yashoda and her friends were drowned in waves and whirlpools of maternal love. In all three worlds, no greater love is found. Its home is in Goloka, far above. And the commentators, this is the famous pastime from the Canto, the complaints, that the gopis were actually delighted that Krishna would come and steal their butter and yogurt. And so they took the opportunity of going to see him at Mother Yashoda's house. And it had the desired effect. They lost they gave up their pretense of being annoyed, and they were just drowned in waves and whirlpools of maternal love. And of course, the famous binding of Krishna, the imp of Braj. Now, we probably didn't use that word, but in my efforts to write poetry and make everything fit, this word imp came, and I looked it up, and it said it seemed to be perfectly suited for Krishna in Vrindavan. An imp is a mischievous child. What could be more perfect than that? A mischievous child. That's one of the main meanings. So, therefore, at last Yashoda caught her naughty child, who had smashed a pot of yogurt in a peak. Though seemingly annoyed, she felt beguiled by little Krishna's loving charm unique. Oh, imp, I've caught you now, but do not fear. You see, I've thrown the stick upon the floor, but I must bind you with this rope, my dear, lest you increase your mischief more and more. And so Yashoda bound her little son, who hid his glory to evoke her love. The blessing she enjoyed are never won by gods and goddesses who dwell above. Okay, I have one or two more, and then we can, if there's some comments or questions, we can. An idol of love. An idol is something that is ideal. Where blooming flowers spread their sweet perfumes, where clear Yamuna flows and songbirds sing, where all the land of lovely light illumes, Shri Radha and Shri Krishna gently swing. This idol of their love in Braja's bowers forever charms their dearest devotees, whose heart Shri Krishna's sweetness overpowers, obscuring his prodigious potencies. Whatever in this world we know as love is just a shadow of the love they feel. The wise aspire to learn the secrets of devotion's path and taste that love ideal. And let's see. Finally, I think this is the last one. Maybe next to last. Sweeter than the sweetest. Now, this is a little inspired a little by that verse. Many may know. You should know this. Maduram, maduram, bapadasya vibho, maduram, 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 badanam, maduram. And madugam nimadusmitame tadaho. Maduram, 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 maduram. Sweet, sweet is my dear Lord's form, sweet is still his face so fair. But his honey scented gentle smile is sweet beyond compare. Okay, the sweetness of Sri Krishna's form beguiles. Still sweeter is his face like autumn moon, but sweeter than the sweetest is his smile, whose luscious beauty makes the gopis swoon. Govinda's beauty captivates the doves, the swans and deer, the cows, and every tree. Indeed, in Braja, every creature loves Sri Krishna and is drowned in ecstasy. That all enchanting land is paradise, our home where we may dwell eternally. Most welcome there are those who pay the price to learn to love Shri Krishna perfectly. Oh, and this is a plea from a bee. Okay. I don't know if we have time for this. Did you want to leave some time for questions? Anand,
I think we can. We will always have more time for you, Prabhu, whatever time it takes.
All right. I think I'm pretty sure this is the last one. This is a song that was written by Rupa Goswami. It's hard for me to see the beginning of this. Isn't a purport. Oh, there we go. Well, I can read the beginning then. This is in a purport in the first canto, 11th chapter, 26th verse. You see at the end there. Srila Rupa Goswami, the great devotee acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, has sung a song about this lotus honey comparing himself to the bee. So the honey was meant, the honey at the lotus feet of Krishna. Oh, my Lord Krishna, he's giving a nice translation of the song. Oh, my Lord Krishna, I beg to offer my prayers unto you. My mind is like the bee, and it is after some honey. Kindly, therefore, give my bee mind a place at your lotus feet, which are the resources for all the transcendental honey. I know that even big demigods like Rama do not see the rays of the nails of your lotus feet, even though they are engaged in deep meditation for years together. Still, O infallible one, my ambition is such, for you are very merciful to your surrendered devotees. O Madhava, I know also that I have no genuine devotion for the service of your lotus feet, but because your lordship is inconceivably powerful, you can do what is impossible to be done. Your lotus feet can deride even the nectar of the heavenly kingdom, and therefore I am very much attracted by them. O Supreme Eternal, please therefore let my mind be fixed at your lotus feet, so that eternally I may be able to relish the taste of your transcendental service. Now this one I'm going to have to put drums on because it's a, there he goes. All right, so let me just activate this. Can you hear that little beat there? I think you can.
Yes, Prabhu.
Krishna Bhavandam Vande Manmanasamadkarnama Payadita Padapam Kachamakadande. Oh Krishna, dearest Lord, I bow to you and then entreat. Please place to be in my restless mind in the honey of your lotus feet. Yadapi samadhi vidadapi pashati nalabanakagam Hiramacham in the Shamitavatu Vichim. Though even Rama, deep in trance, cannot achieve his goal, a glimpse of your effulgent toenails soothing to the soul. Because, oh Lord, I've heard of your compassion's wondrous ways. That very vision is the only boon my poor heart craves. Krishna Bhavandam Vande Manmanasamadkarnama Paidita Padapankashamakadande. Oh Krishna, dearest Lord, I bow to you and then entreat. Please place the bee in my restless mind in the honey of your lotus feet. Bhakti Danchadi Yanyapi Madhavanatare Mamachilamatri. Padameshwara Tata Kadurga Ghanana Vidatri. Oh Madhava, despite great effort, I have not attained a drop of pure devotion. This has brought me untold pain. Yet though it seems impossible to ever feel this need, your monumental power gives me hope I shall succeed. El Krishna Bhavandam Vande. Oh Krishna, dearest Lord, I bow to you and then entreat. Please place to be in my restless mind in the honey of your lotus feet. I am a Lord at the Adisanat and the Kaladan Buddha the Sabaram. Nivasatya Nitya Mahamati Nindini Vindam Madanimasaram. Today, eternal Lord, please fix my mind upon your feet. The reservoir of endless mellows, wonderful and sweet. I pray that for eternity my mind may there reside, to relish luscious honey that defeats ambrosia's pride. Hare Krishna Bhavandam Vande Manmanasamankarnama Paiditi Padapam Kachamakadande. Oh Krishna, dearest Lord, I bow to you and then entreat. Please place to be my restless mind in the honey of your lotus feet. Of your lotus feet. There you go. That's the end. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada meditating in Samadhi. So, Ananda, Gauranga.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. We're so eternally grateful that we are able to have your association so often. And, we always have, access to Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, etc. But, this is like deep cleansing for all of us, right? So these are gems from the deep ocean of verses that are available. And with your poetic touch, it brings in so much, bliss to all of us as well. And the way that you've selected the pictures and also the meditation on those pictures. So it's fabulous and then aligns with the topic that you had today, Prabhu. So thank you so much. We're grateful to you. And maybe we'll open it up for some questions if some devotees have some questions that will help all other devotees as well. That's really appreciated. If you have any questions, you can send it through the chat forum. We have at least 10 minutes, if not more. If you feel inclined to ask Prabhu directly through your audio, then you can unmute and ask Prabhu as well. Is that okay, Prabhu, if they have any
It's
questions?
fine. I see. Does this mean there's one chat already? There's one, because I have a number 1 here.
The chat is just, no, this was just, you said Hare Krishna in the beginning.
Okay.
So, yeah, so we'll just wait for some questions, Prabhu. So maybe just before devotees are asking questions, are they thinking through this? So as far as meditation is concerned, Prabhu, so remembrance is concerned, is that like your beautiful poems that you just said right now, that helps us meditate on these beautiful paintings? Now, when we are chanting, how do we correlate that, Prabhu? So chanting is also in a way remembrance, but then we will be hearing the names of the Lord when we are hearing. So is it recommended when we are chanting to think of some of these beautiful poems and the pictures, paintings, or it's two separate things? You know, when chanting, not to think, but just to hear the sound.
Well,
If
yeah,
you can
that's
guide us
interesting.
on.
It's fascinating you asked that question, because I recently read, it was a letter, I think it was a letter or a conversation, I forget which, where Prabhupada was asked this question: when we're chanting Hare Krishna, should we think of Krishna's Leela? And Prabhupada probably surprisingly said yes, because at other times he also says you should just hear the mantra, you just hear the sound. So they're they're kind of non-different in a way. When you practiced in just hearing and absorbing yourself in the sound, the natural remembrance of Krishna's form will come, and the remembrance of Krishna's Leela. And if you are carefully read these amongst devotees. Now I have my little poem, but of course we read Krishna book. We have the 10th canto. We have so many ways of sharing, Krishna's pastime, Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. This fills the mind with thoughts of Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. And then at a certain point, that should replace our usual video that's going on in our brain, remembrance, this and that. In other words, this is where that verse comes in. Tasmanaro asanga susanga. We have to be strong enough to give up the bad association and take to the good association. And that means gradually reducing those things in our life that take our minds away from Krishna, or that where we have the option. In other words, we're working in a job, we have to think of certain things like that. But as soon as we get a chance, we should dive back into the nectar, the holy name, the Shastra, as illustrated here by that song. The Sanskrit is exquisitely aesthetically beautiful. So many, and we have such an abundance of them. Of course, the Bhagavatam is full of them. There's Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have the songs, but now we have also the writings of the Goswamis. Many of you are familiar, I've made some recordings of them. These are all part of the remembrance of filling our minds with the images and the emotions and even the sights and smells and sounds of transcendence. Every little, like I'll give you one, there's little verses in a book called the Govinda Viradavali, which is in the database. I put it in the database. I also put the Leela Chanda in the database, which is a summary of Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes. So here's just one little sample. There's a little Glubjaman verse about Mother Yashoda's kissing Krishna. That's the whole verse. So it's so, Amba is the mother, she's kissing Krishna's beautiful face, and she's like a lotus, and it's describing it. And of course there are much longer verses. You know, I didn't do the Chitrika Vidvani, but all of those are, of course, wonderful meditations on Krishna. So we have a, if you take the trouble, and I can help you. One day I should just do a little Zoom on verse memorization, you know, the art of it, and we can maybe memorize a few verses in there, simple ones. Because that I've been cultivating that for forever, since I joined practically. And it's a beautiful way to remember Krishna, to remember the philosophy, to enliven each other, devotees. There's a book that was put out, all the different reasons why we should memorize verses. Prabhupada wanted us to. You know, he encouraged us to do that, especially when you're giving class, to be able to quote verses from Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. It's pleasing to Prabhupada and pleasing to Krishna. Let's put it that way. So all of that is a way of steeping our mind in Krishna consciousness, so that the remembrance becomes deeper and more natural, and we see everything in relation to Krishna, even in our ordinary life. You know, the whole world becomes filled with things that remind us of Krishna. That's the ideal. So you're never out of touch. So I would say that both are. We should certainly be steeped and very focused on the sound of the name. But at the same time, we can let these images come. Prabhupada really loved these paintings. He pushed it, you know, and the windows to the spiritual world. So we can remember those images instead of all kinds of other images that are impinging on our mind. So yeah, we can do both.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. That really helps. And then also we may have some, not just the pictures, the beautiful paintings for us to remember Krishna, but also is it also okay if somebody's been on this Govardhan Parikrama or the temples in Vrindavan, and they're able to replay those beautiful videos from their mind?
Yes, and we have so much facility now. You know, this is one of the what they call silver linings to this pandemic, is that devotees are, you know, giving darshans and parikrams from Vrindavan, you know, on Zoom. And there's a, you know, Jagatamani and you know, so many other devotees who know Vrindavan so well, and they're able to share, and you're able to fill, you know, minds with those thoughts and those images and those sounds. So yeah, we have the golden opportunity. It's just the question of choosing, always choosing the Krishna conscious option, and becoming accustomed to that, so that eventually you get to the point, oh, when am I going to have another chance to, you know, really absorb myself fully, rather than, you know, do anything else. So it's a cultivation.
And then you mentioned that about the verse memorization. So it'll be fantastic if ISKCON Scarborough devotees can you know, go through that with you, Prabhu, one session, especially when you mentioned today that Srimad Bhagavatam 5, 12, 16, where you were just seeing the verse written on the board and you were able to memorize it in Toronto. So who can, you know, give us better guidance on memorization than you? And we learned so many things today. Of course, the Zafu pillow for the devotees, you know, who will be interested in the proper posture. And also many words you mentioned about the sword,
the
sword, the imp, and the idol, and many things we are hearing today.
Well, that's the thing with this poetry. You know, when I write this poetry, I have three tools. Of course, a regular dictionary, and a thesaurus, which gives you synonyms, because a lot of times the word that you need a different word so it'll fit. And then there's a rhyming dictionary. They have that. Of course, it's all online too. Just a minute. And so it's like putting together a puzzle, you know. And I remember when I wrote that Iti poem, you know, where Krishna lives, felicity abounds, pure simplicity and love and sensibility, or serve with humility. I found many words ending in ITI in English. So there was a lot of raw materials there for me, and I was able to put that together. But I use that all the time. You know, the sword, you know, I needed instead of meadow because it rhymes with this. It has one syllable like that. So it's a, you know, but they have a certain attractiveness. The rhyming, of course, the meter is you know, so much more advanced in Sanskrit, but the rhyming is generally not there. But Rupa Goswami does that in his Leela Chanda. That's just the little essence of Krishna's knocking over the cart demon. He was crying because his mother would put him aside and all this and that. But the artistry of the great poets like Rupa Goswami and of course Vilamangal Thakur and Jiva Goswami also, and many of them. It's just extraordinary. And the meter, Prabhupada once asked, he's on a morning walk, what is the most universal language? And usually, the answer is music. Someone said music, Prabhupada said no. And no one really knew, and Prabhupada said rhythm. Rhythm is shared, in every language and so forth. And so that's there in spades in the Sanskrit language, very satisfying to the mind. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. I think, my personal desire is if you can, do a couple of these sessions. One is the verse memorization, and my favorite of what you can do for ISKCON Scarborough devotees is this Chitra Kavitvani. At some point, if you can do that, who can do that then you, Prabhu? So so that's why
I can do it. You sent me the full thing with no flaws. The only thing is this. There's stuff in there that really is for Sanskrit can explain it better. I'm not a Sanskrit guy. I haven't studied extensively the Sanskrit language, but I'm willing to do it. But I think that you'll get more out of, I'm sure, the verse memorization. That I think
for sure. We'll have both. So maybe we'll have the verse memorization, and when you think.
All right. We can discuss it. Sure.
So at this point, Prabhu, I would like to open it up for some of the devotees to unmute themselves and ask you a question if they have, which will help all of us as well on this topic on hand that we're discussing today. Anyone would like to unmute and ask Prabhu directly?
Api Chowsi is unmuted.
Api Chowsi is Dirnitai Prabhu. Other than Hare Krishna, any questions from Dirnitai Prabhu or Mother Srimati, anybody? This is a great opportunity to ask Dravid Prabhu directly.
Yeah, the reason I unmuted, we wanted to chant on the behalf of two devotees. They are in that critical situation, just to chant the Maha mantra on the behalf of those people, from Scarborough, ISKCON Scarborough. Yes, please. That is my request, Anand, and also Dravida Prabhu can lead it, So
yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. And by the way, you want to tell who the devotees are, so we know at least who we are chanting for, at least the name.
Yeah, Sarvasachin's wife, and I don't know her name, and also Hari Bhakti Vilas also is one of, he's also
okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll just get to that in a minute as we are concluding this, but I just wanted to still open it up for some devotees. We will definitely conclude with that, of course. But is there any specific questions from anybody on what Dravid Prabhu spoke today, which will help all of us?
It is very nice, Prabhu, that you were explaining that how to, it is in a simple way and simple method for even for the pioneers, just like the Nephi devotees, to it's make them easy. There's some people thinks, the Hare Krishna devotees, it's become a devotee is very hard. They have so much restricted rules and regulations. But this one is very simple. Simply, you said that, what are the procedures we have to follow. It is very nice, very nice. That would bring the new Nephi devotees. It is very nice, very nice.
No, I'm glad you like it.
Thank you, Prabhu. So, Kishore Mane Prabhu, you're online. Any question for Dravid Prabhu directly? I'm just urging some of the devotees to ask you the question directly.
Yeah, I can see.
Kishore Mane Prabhu, are you muted? Can you unmute yourself? Any questions that you have? Or Bhakti Vinod Prabhu, Mother Dwarka, Srimati Mother. One more minute we have, so it's a great opportunity to ask Prabhu a question that's been in your mind.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Swamiji has done quite good, the depiction of Govardhan Parvat and all that, and the idyllic scenes about Vrindavan. But we are here in Toronto. We want to concentrate upon Krishna and how to do it, particularly for a person like me, old man, just like 90 years. It's very difficult. can you suggest a practical way of how to chant Hare Krishna in a better way or successful way?
Was the question how to chant Hare Krishna in a better way or successful way? The chanting, yes. So clearly the means we've been given very clearly, the chanting, and it's that's the essential sadhana for all of us, and really the main benediction Lord Chaitanya gave in terms of the practice. So I gave these 5 P's. Of course, it could be expanded. We should study the offenses to be avoided, and it's a question of prayer, of when you chant, not more than just a meditation, that it also be a prayer, and that you pray that you'll be able to concentrate more, that you'll get more attraction for the holy name, and like that. And so it's a cultivation, not something I can answer in a few minutes, but good association, and the regulation, and being determined to chant the minimum number of rounds every day and gradually increase, and become absorbed in the holy name. So all of the instructions are there in Srila Prabhupada's books, and take shelter of the more advanced devotees, and get strength from them so that you can practice. That's the best I can do. And I'm kind of borrowing this room, so I'm
thank you so much, Prabhu. And for the benefit of those of you who joined us a little late, so Dravid Prabhu is doing this class from San Diego Temple because of some internet issues in his apartment. So we're very grateful to Dravid Prabhu for taking your time to put it on and putting this together for all our benefit, Prabhu. So as Dinita Prabhu had asked, maybe if you can conclude, if you don't mind, Prabhu, so if you can just chant 3 Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We will also try to unmute. I know there's going to be a lag in the sound, but if it's okay, for the benefit of these 2 devotees who have got some serious health concern,
okay,
we would like you to chant 3 Hare Krishna Mahamantras, and if you don't mind, we'll also join with you, Prabhu.
Okay, very good. And I'm also going to chant for Sharaba Babu, who wrote me and said he's got COVID pretty seriously. So we'll chant for him also in Washington, D.C. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Hare Hare,
Hare
Rama, Rama,
Hare Hare.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
All glories to Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Dravid Prabhu, thank you.
Hare Krishna.